Hello, everyone. Congratulations on the 50th anniversary of the Korean Development Institute. I'm very happy to talk to you about anticipatory innovation governance and where our public sector partners in OECD are taking their governance approaches at the moment. My name is Piret Tonurist. I work at the Observatory of Public Sector Innovation, and I lead the work on system thinking and anticipatory innovation governance. So we have a full program of work around these issues. But first of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview about what an innovative public service delivery means and what public sector innovation means. So when we talk about public sector innovation, we are looking for ideas and concepts that are new to the context. So they don't have to be new to your own organization or your public sector, but they have to be new to the context that you're dealing with. They also have to be implemented in the real world. So they have to really impact your policy delivery, your services. They have to be beyond pilots, prototypes, and proof of concepts. And last but not least, public sector innovation also has to impact public value. So it has to deliver also more equality, transparency, different types of efficiency, effectiveness, and different types of public values. So in innovative terms, public sector innovation can both increase efficiency, effectiveness, and different types of public values, but they can also decrease it. So in new digitalization options and solutions, for example, we can make our services personalized and more effective to single people, but may also lose on that transparency or data security or privacy concerns as well. So public sector innovation is very much a complex topic, but also needed in government context. And we at the public sector innovation are looking at four different types of innovation, from two different types of logics of how strategically also think about and direct innovative activities within the public sector. So first of all, we are looking at directed top-down processes where public sector innovation is led by goals, policy reforms, issues that we want to achieve. And this is called mission-oriented innovation. So setting a mission and giving leeway and autonomy to actually deal with that mission later on and to innovate below that, to reach more equal societies, deal with poverty and other topics that are important for us. On the other side, we also have undirected or bottom-up activities that are coming up based on the fact that our citizens are also changing their values and how they want to use services, how they want to engage with the government in its entirety. So also industrial partners may change the type of needs they have, for example. And for that, governments need to adapt their policies. So they need adaptive innovation, and that can be best done closest to the users and partners of government in its entirety. And we also have very certain processes that we also are put into the covenant of looking after public value and public money. And so we also always have a goal to actually enhance our current systems, so deal with enhancement-oriented innovation. So we are making our systems more effective and efficient by applying behavioral insights or even very complex technologies connected to algorithmic governance or artificial intelligence, but with the aim to actually make our current service offering or what we do more effective and applicable to more people. And last but not least, we also have to look at the future risks and opportunities. We have to be thinking about those before they actually become a reality. So we have an opportunity to act and innovate towards those plausible and preferable futures that we want to see happening, or to also avoid future outcomes that are not in line with the values that we are actually supporting. So for this reason, you actually need different types of innovations where both the return on investment is clearer or less clear at times, but it has to be as important in supporting public sector innovation in its entirety as well. And of course, governments around the world are confronted with many different types of challenges, with policy problems becoming more complex, uncertain, and also volatile. So change is speeding up, and we're also in the midst of a paradigmatic change from from mass production society to a digitalized platform society based on digital organizations and different types of work, which also public sector has to prepare for. For those reasons as well, the key question is not only thinking about the scenarios about what might happen or what those kind of black swan or black jellyfish type of events are that become really critical, like COVID-19 as well, that can shift up things. Thinking about these things is of course important, but what is more important is to do something actually based on that. So prepare and innovate your governance structures, your policies based on those insights. And what we have really learned from COVID-19 as well, by tracking all of these innovative responses around the world from governments, is that there is a rapid acceleration of digital innovation and transformation that governments have to really start dealing with. We already knew that this was happening, but the current crisis has really sped up the processes, that we are going to work in different ways, that our industries are going to automate potentially faster than we ever predicted. We also have to think about reskilling or new types of jobs and opportunities and new types of industries that may come out of this crisis. Governments around OECD countries have also found it very important to looking at bottom-up solutions and insights. The number of hackathons and solutions through partnerships around the OECD countries has increased fully. So building conduits for new ideas, solutions, and insights coming from citizens, industry partners, and businesses is becoming more and more important. Also, we have seen a surge in social solidarity and caring, that kind of self-activation and mobilization of millions of individuals towards those goals throughout the crisis. But also, there is more systematic thinking about what kind of social solidarity and caring we actually need in future societies. So what might happen in Asian societies, or what might happen in the future work conditions, where we'll have a transformation period where certain jobs will disappear and there will be a time lag when new jobs will appear in the new industries that we're building. We have gone from also reducing the spread of the virus, or thinking about reducing the spread in tracking and seeing the digital tools and uptake of technology connected to that, but also forcing ahead on path of recovery. So thinking about those different scenarios about how our public sectors are going to be substantially different in the future after this crisis. And for that as well, we have to really think about the innovator's dilemma, about thinking about the future in the balance of actually thinking about the established practice. How can we put future strategic opportunities at the same table with also established practices, where there are more investments and more attention at the moment? So future shouldn't be discounted. So we also have to think in terms of future stakeholder needs and future users, and not only rely on the feedback of today. And for that, we need different new types of structures that help us to really deal with technology and upcoming challenges, from not knowing what the technological solutions will bring about in terms of changes within our society, but really thinking through these potential scenarios and starting testing and experimenting with them to actually create evidence early on, so we can intervene in time in technological change and the designs that are upcoming. And for that, we need to also think about the future in non-static ways, not only about possible, plausible, probable, projected, or preferable futures in one day or doing one exercise connected to that, but thinking about it continuously. If, for example, Korea takes a very strong policy stance or an ambitious goal to build up an inclusive future, investing in certain types of welfare and industrial options, then that will send a signal that also will change the probable and plausible future possibilities that are out there. So you actually need to do this analysis in a continuous basis. And futures and anticipation is always done through dialogue. So you have to have actually participatory tools and methods to have this discussion about what potential futures might behold. So we also have citizen panels and other deliberative tools that are used to discuss the future values that we actually want to see happening. And for this, also strategic foresight is, of course, very necessary. So we have seen throughout the crisis, and even before that, governments around OECD countries building up those capacities in futures thinking and strategic foresight to actually have these long-term objectives that will actually feed into planning and strategy. But strategic foresight alone is not enough. Often it also gets ignored. And there we have identified through the different practices of countries as well, the impact gap of futures and foresight thinking that we have also seen in the context of the current crisis, where global pandemics have been predicted in quite a good degree before, yet they didn't have a significant impact into country strategies, regulations, and partnerships, or different warning systems or infrastructure that they actually built up. So you have to take those visions or different scenarios and start to actually do something with it. To also build up those linkages with your strategic planning system and your kind of day-to-day policy-making system to make the exercises impactful. And for that, we're really talking about the three different components. So one is anticipation, so creating the knowledge about what plausible futures or contextual factors will impact different values and worldviews and different possible and probable scenarios for the future as well. So the act of knowledge creation through this process. But not only that, but also the innovative process as well. So what kind of solutions, experiments are we going to start on investing on today to actually explore that? So what kind of sandboxes or testing centers or innovative solutions we're going to see in practice to see what the effects of future possible potentialities will be. And for that, of course, we need an anticipatory innovation governance system. So the structures and mechanisms in place that both allow you to anticipate and also innovate in practice to think about the types of challenges, for example, that the Korean society is currently facing or will face in the future. And the type of the anticipatory innovation governance system relies on two different factors. One is connected to agency, so the ability of your civil servants, public sector employees, and leaders to actually explore different alternatives and experiment. They have the organizational capacity and capabilities and tools and methods to do that, and the institutional arrangements that allow them to also innovate and take those ideas into innovation to make sense of what is upcoming. And it's not only reliant on the individual agency that kind of gets allowed through the organizational structures that they're in, but they also need an authorizing environment that tells them that this is good and needed work, that this is valuable for what the government is wanting to achieve. So you need to also create legitimacy around anticipatory innovation work, different types of evaluation and evidence about why this work is valuable as well, to have a developmental approach to evidence creation to say, these are the scenarios and new ideas that are coming out of the process. and this has delivered different types of value. We also need different partnerships and networks to deal with outside interests. And in many cases, also we need to address vested interests and cognitive biases, because today's expert biases, that public servants or different leaders in their fields know what is currently happening may not be actually true. So we need to design different processes that allow us to look at problems in new ways, or put the user or the citizen really at the center of the change process itself. And for that we need not only resilience, adaptation, but anticipation. So we need all of that. So we need to have the possibility to both build systems that hold their shape and are resilient in the face of crisis, but also systems that adapt quickly to emerging needs, but also anticipate those emerging needs. So we need a portfolio approach that is not only connected to anticipatory innovation, which is a core part of the system that we need, but those anticipatory innovations can also become missions for the government in the future. And adaptive change on the ground can really feed into anticipatory innovation activities. So putting the citizens' new values or human-centered approaches at the center, we also know where we should be exploring in terms of new values that the government wants to really invest in. And the big goal in the OECD countries, of course, is to get the government from a reactive position about waiting and seeing and only adopting end-of-the-pipe solutions once hazards and risks have already emerged, to a proactive government position, where government becomes also an active shaper of the environment where these changes appear. So anticipating various futures and actively exploring options in practice to how actually those solutions might play out. So how to build an anticipatory innovation governance system? We are doing this work with many different countries, and we are actually looking at many different types of tools and methods. And from national orientations, from national development strategies, sustainable development goals, national vision, government programs, where anticipatory innovation really helps to respond to change, stress tests, identify changes, and also develop shared visions of success. So different outcomes from Slovenia and elsewhere, where those approaches, together with the OECD, have already applied. And not only, so anticipatory innovation is also very useful on organizational strategic level. So we need to make sense, identify changes, all also on a kind of organizational level as well, stress test those different potentialities and respond to change in a timely fashion, developing new partnerships, practices, and ways of working as well. And this should also be a huge part of the policy planning processes. So actually linking anticipatory innovation governance to the core policy and strategy making processes. So looking at particular aims from education, skills, futures of industries, digitalization and infrastructure, and the mega trends and the futures and horizon canning and the trends that actually may influence a different tack for your industry. So it helps to also create those different scenarios and visions that are collectively shared that will help you also shape, for example, a new economic future for Korea or industrial composition or more human-centered approach to policymaking. And it also allows you to take into account different risks and stress tests in terms of wind tunneling or risk assessment about the soundness of those plans and the kind of the left field events that may actually take you out from the course that you wanted to achieve. And last but not least, we also can support thematic explorations for identifying changing to responding to changes in different fields, where actually different trends are also promoting, for example, future of work activities or future planning in specific fields as well. And last but not least, there have been several governments as well that are taking a whole of government approach to anticipatory innovation, that have built up futures and foresight capabilities and are actively linking them today to strategic development approaches. So coordination of futures work across ministries and agencies, creating communities of practice, sharing experiences, and stress testing different activities in those. And together in the Anticipatory Innovation Governance program, we're actually looking at different countries, these future anticipatory innovation governance systems and different mechanisms connected to that. So we're working together with the government of Finland to look at the whole system about how the anticipatory innovation governance system works, how it's built up. We're currently also helping Ireland to build up the anticipatory innovation governance system, the different components, actors within that connected to our public service 2030 vision. So the vision for the public service in 10 years to come. So what kind of, and the connection to the innovation strategies connected to them. We're also looking at rehearsing sustainable futures in the Netherlands, anticipatory environments that support the radical experimentation in Sweden and in other countries. And we're also looking at the future of the civil service connected to also aging and other kind of organizational change challenges that are on the way in terms of digitalization and other challenges, together with the government of Slovenia. So OPSI's core role in all of this is to really analyze the global trends in public sector innovation and also anticipatory innovation, and bring this forward as kind of exploratory practices and new ways of actually looking at the public sector innovation goals. And together with countries, we do demonstration cases about what anticipatory innovation governance actually looks like, or which types of innovation portfolios countries should build up. And all of this in the kind of the aims to really respond through innovative means to the next challenges that are on the way. So the process of digitalization, new user needs and service models that are on the way for citizens that are expected, to new economic models and industries that are also emerging throughout this crisis, and different types of interaction and partnerships and collaboration that the government need to build up in preparing to technological change and climate change and green transition. So we are very happy to also hear that you are in the kind of a crossroads in developing a new approach, a policy approach to Korea. And hopefully the innovation portfolio approach and anticipatory innovation has been an inspiration, and can be an inspiration in this journey. Because one of the key futures, key ideas to actually influence the future is to start acting upon it today and creating knowledge about it, so you can actually have a future-oriented, if not the future-proof policy system. We're happy to continue discussing further on this journey with you on how the work on anticipatory innovation governance is unfolding, and what we can actually learn from the practice of Korea and share it with the rest of the countries in our portfolio. Thank you so much for your attention.